So what Carl was saying, ignore it to a certain degree. The only thing that I was saying was I want him to be consistent. He is very inconsistent when it comes to coaches, when it comes to making his points and stuff, right? So last year I told him the Warriors, they were old, they looked washed and stuff, and he was like, oh, you can't doubt them, they're the NBA champions, yada, yada, yada. But like last year, you could see that the Warriors were not the same team that they won the championship. This year is not the same Warriors team that won the championship. So the same way Carl was giving credit to the Warriors back in 2022 or last year, I just wanted him to admit that, listen, the Warriors are not the same team. And
I
also, you did. Oh, can I finish? Also, if you watch the Warrior games, Mike, I know you watch a lot of Warrior games. A lot of it can factor to Steve Kerr because I read Warriors Twitter a lot, and a lot of them are saying, listen, Steve Kerr is not pressing the right buttons. Last night, you could blame Steph, whatever, fine, but you're still Steve Kerr. You got to make adjustments. You're up by 20 with 6 minutes remaining. I get it. Listen, it's a new NBA, yada, yada, yada. But you're the coach. You're the one who gets to decide. Joanthan Kuminga, he had like 19 points the other night. He didn't even finish the game, right? Pods, I know he got hurt, but he was hooping, and it took so much for him to get in rotation minutes. TJD, it took for Kevon Looney to get injured for TJD to get minutes. So, like, who does this fall on? You had Clay coming out the other day saying, oh, I had a sit-down meeting with Steve Kerr, and he told me to just enjoy what's left of the sunset. So he basically said that he's washed. Like, there's so many factors that come into this. I mean, you could say the Draymond Green incident isn't Steve Kerr's fault, but at the same time, you're the coach. You got Jordan Poole who wanted to leave, right? Maybe you have Andrew Wiggins who only saw Jordan Poole as his only friend, and Andrew Wiggins is probably like out of it. You know what I mean? Like there's so many factors that come into this, but it all starts with coaching, right? So, excuse me. The thing about Draymond Green last year when he punched Jordan Poole, like no one took his side, right? So everyone is scared to speak up against Draymond because Steph has Clay and Draymond. So everyone is scared to speak up because they know they're going to get traded. So, Mike, I just wanted to ask you if you see the mistakes that Steve Kerr is making and you think he's not exempt for criticism. Because Carl was like, oh, he has 4 championships. Okay, but Pop has 5, and we were just talking shit about him 2-3 weeks ago. Phil Jackson has 12, 11, whatever you want to call it, and he didn't get and he got criticism for the Knicks failing. So, Mike, what do you think about Steve Kerr this season?
Well, before you continue that, in terms of the Knicks, it's 2 different roles. Number one, he was a GM compared to being a coach. You can't compare that. That's like that's 2 different roles.
Okay, so you can talk about the year that he took off and then he came back.
Okay, and then you talk about giving flack to who? You talking about giving flack to Pop? We were giving flack to Pop, but Pop still gets recognized as one of the arguably the greatest coaches to ever walk the planet. So I don't know where we're talking about giving them flack. And then I also said the last time we were on, I said Mike Dunleavy Jr. is to blame for the Warriors' issues because, again, he's giving you those ingredients and you knew what was coming up and they decided to give Draymond his money. But again, to Mike's point.
So, man, this is actually a great discussion. And Andres, I like majority of what you're saying. You even given more details than I knew about some of the relationship dynamics that exist on that team, especially as it relates to Andrew Wiggins, because he's a shell of himself. So, and nobody just falls off a cliff like that. Now you can say it's also his off-court issues. He went 3 months without playing last year. And of course it was things dealing with personal issues. So that could be a factor coming in. He could have been coming in out of shape, etc. But before I answer fully, is your conclusion that he's not a great coach? Because I think that's what Carl is saying, that if he can criticize him, but if you're concluding that because of this year and last year, he's not a great coach, then that's ridiculous.
No, so my thing is I just want Carl to hold him accountable because when the Warriors were winning titles, people were saying, oh, it's Steph and Draymond and KD and Clay. And I'm very pro-coach. You know that. But the thing is, when Steve Kerr misses, he doesn't get criticism at all. In the 2016 finals, Anderson Varejao was getting minutes in a Game 7. That's just one example.
So this is a good point because there have been throughout this, 11 years now? Well, 10 years now. Because he took
under Kerr. They're going
under 9. I think this is 9.
9 years under Kerr. Yeah,
he took over in 2015. So in these 9 years, he hasn't been devoid of criticism. I think part of the challenge is because they just showed the stat yesterday, I think, or not yesterday, the Magic game. When they played the Magics, they showed they've been the best team by far in 9 years. Like they're winning, they have the highest winning percentage in those 9 years with 4 championships, with 6 finals appearances. So I think it's because the magnitude of winning that he's done does give him a little bit of leeway like Pop. But you're absolutely right in terms of criticism. He should be criticized. My biggest criticism, Carl knows this because I've been yelling about it for like 3 years. I hate the way he subs. I hate the way he uses Steph, particularly in second half. One of the things that I could criticize Steve Kerr for in terms of his in-game adjustments is knowing what you just expressed about last night's game. And I didn't see all of the game, but it sounds like from what you're sharing, it's one of the main criticisms I've always had with Steve Kerr is, and a lot of coaches, is knowing the tenor of the game in the moment, like knowing the moment. So if the other team goes, if you're up 20 and another team goes on a 6-0 run and Steph's not in the game the whole time, you're supposed to call a timeout, bring Steph in the game. Or if the other team is up, if your team is teetering with a lead and you normally sit Steph the fourth quarter, Carl knows because all throughout the finals I kept complaining about it. If you all the games they lost in the fourth quarter in the finals because they have a lead. Steph is sitting because he normally sits the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But you have to know the tenor of the game. If the game is shifting, you should make adjustments. So that's been my one criticism throughout Steve Kerr's career. My second criticism that came last year and this year is he doesn't utilize the young guys. Joanthan Kuminga is doing what we've all thought he would do. He's doing it now. But Steve Kerr had to be forced to do that because Draymond got suspended because he wasn't starting him before then. So it's part of Moses is
out of the rotation.
In the doghouse, but he's an impact player. His plus minus was always high. So there is this part of, we celebrated him for being part of developing Jordan Poole, because to me, that's how he checked every coaching box. I'm going long on this rant, but I just want to
keep cooking, but you're good.
I have ways in which I judge a coach. I judge them by the 3 metrics. Can you manage stars? Are you good at X and O's? And can you develop young players? Steve Kerr checks every box. Jordan Poole was his check mark because Jordan Poole developed, yes, because of Steph, but also Steve Kerr's coaching. Now, to your point, Andres, well, he failed with that because Jordan Poole right now is showing he's not a starter. He thrived coming off the bench for the Warriors. So with that Draymond situation, and I was with them picking Draymond over it because of the history, but this is to your point that, again, it's just like an in-game adjustment. This is an in-season adjustment. You have to know the tenor of your team. So while you may support Draymond, you have to understand that this kid can be the future of your team. So you got to try to build that. That's where Pop made the mistake with Kawhi. Same scenario.
Okay, so now
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so what we're saying is, so now does that mean we're putting Steve Kerr on the hot seat?
See, you always do
it's a fair question. It's a fair question. It's not chatty patty. It's a fair, like he's facing criticism. It's a fair question.
No, there's a difference between Darvin Ham's hot seat right now,
which he shouldn't be on. Go ahead.
He shouldn't be on, and Steve Kerr. No, Steve Kerr would have to have 6 failing seasons. Like, he gets a lot of rope. Again, 9 years. 4 championships, 6 finals appearances, and they won the West 8 years. They were playing in the West. They won it the 6 years. So 6 out of 8 years. So no, he's got a long leash. If you go 6 and 8 in the finals, in the West, he's got a long leash. He's got to go a long length of time before he gets on a hot seat. Pop been sitting there, and the Spurs have been trash since 2019. They've been trash since 2019. And so we going on year 5. Pop's still sitting there. Steve Kerr get the same kind of rope.
Thanks for watching the Sports Hit List. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. In fact, do it now.